Hello, magnificent community. I am so excited today to be having this conversation and to introduce you to someone who has been absolutely pivotal past 6 months in my business, in my life, in my manifesting. I, over the past few years, have gotten really strong in manifesting and really good. But when this person came into my life, she really amped up my energy, my mindset, and my results. And over the past 6 months, I have created so many amazing things that I've been sharing with you all. One thing that she did was she reminded me of things that I'm going to have her share with you today and talk with you about today. And then she modeled those things for me. And that's the power of having a mentor, a teacher, and a coach in your life. So I want to introduce you to Gina DeVee. And let me tell you a little bit about her. Gina DeVee is the founder of Divine Living, a lifestyle and empowerment brand for women globally. She is the author of The Audacity to Be Queen, which I have right here. She's an accomplished speaker, a transformational coach, and a podcast host. She has the Divine Living podcast. Gina says, within every woman lives a queen, and only from the position of queen can you fulfill your purpose. In becoming queen, no longer must women pretend to be anything other than brilliant, capable, and fabulous. The world needs us to own our power, raise our standards, and contribute our talents like never before. And Gina DeVee is here to lead the way. The Audacity to Be Queen brings together over 20 years worth of experience in transforming women's lives through deep spiritual and feminine wisdom of queenhood. With spectacular flair, beautiful pearls of wisdom, and life-changing stories of unexpected triumph, which I can tell you are all in there. Gina shares steps, exercises, meditations, prayers, and journal prompts to help you release all forms of self-doubt and self-sabotage so you can discover the best version of you. And that's what she's helped me with as well. Looking to connect with Gina, you can find her on Instagram at Gina DeVee and see all her latest offerings at divineliving.com. And we will also have all of that information in our show notes for you. So welcome, Gina.
Michelle, it's so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited. What I thought about doing in this conversation today is to pick some of the main things that you helped me remember and shift so we can share them with the audience, and then you can, along with me, talk about them.
Sounds fantastic, Master Manifester.
Well, one of the first things that you really helped me with was the things that I was believing and acting on, and how this can happen to us, even when we've been doing this work for a while, that someone comes in from the outside who is good at seeing this in others, because I had things I was believing and acting on that were absolutely not true, but I had convinced myself. And so I was taking action with those things playing out.
Well, look at, we're not the best at self-reflection when we're in our thing. And there's just some things that we all have an unconscious part to us. And so when we've gotten used to our own way of living, we just think that there's certain things that we have to do, or there's certain things that are the way they are. And when we don't challenge ourselves or investigate, is that really true? Then, we miss things and we don't see them. And so the reason why I think you saw things so quickly was because of how genuinely open you are to infinite possibility. Even though you didn't see it yourself initially, once it was presented as a possibility, you just said a very quick yes. And then we just saw all kinds of new things come into your life.
It is. I love you bring that part up. It is about being open to it, because even though I was stuck in those things, I wasn't rigid in them, and I was able to consider and remember things that I've known. But it can get so real that fear can kick in. And one of the areas that it kicked in, as it does for so many of us, was money. And I've done a lot of work on money stories and money fears, and I've up leveled. And yet in that moment, I knew what I needed to do to move forward. And I was talking to you. Now we can laugh about it because it was just 6 months ago, but I had this little pocket of money and I was so afraid to let it go. One, because my daughter was getting married, and now she's getting married this Saturday, which is very exciting. And so I can look back. It was like, I got to hold on to this money and not do anything because I don't want to mess that up. And I remember you said to me, well, is she getting married in a few weeks? And I said, no, next year, like 8 months. And then you reminded me that money is a renewable resource and that we can create more. And then you kind of were even like, what? You can create the money, because what I know now is that would have kept me stuck in that, and I would have been very constricted. And instead, I'm going into this wedding weekend with financial relaxation, and it's a huge gift for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, I do believe money is the biggest story on the planet. And most of us were taught scarcity around money. We were taught, well, how much is that going to cost? And it almost didn't matter how much something cost. It was always going to be too expensive or not okay, or like, it's like, and wealthy people think about what's it going to cost me not to, it's like, there's a thing that most of us just weren't trained to look at. And look, I come from a family, my parents were public school teachers, and when money got a little tight, I remember I was in high school and there was like call waiting. And it was like $2 or $3 a month. My dad canceled the call waiting to save money. I'm like, what was that going to buy anyone anyways? Or it's like, I never knew orange juice didn't come in concentrate. Like when I was in my 20s and shopping for myself, I was like, it's $3 more, people. Like what is happening? And so it's like the amount of time that we spent with that wooden spoon trying to get the orange concentrate all watered out or whatever. So I think that, and God bless my parents and others that also weren't taught these things. And if you're listening to Michelle's podcast, you're so blessed to know universal law. And universal law means it's for everyone. And there is infinite abundance for everyone because source is infinite. And money, like basically everything else, is just energy. And so if you're going to stop the flow of energy, if you're going to stop the flow of water, stop the flow of your breath, if you're going to hold on to any of those things, no good thing comes from that. Like the breath is supposed to go in and out. The energy is supposed to go in and out. And there's supposed to be a free flow with it. And when you really get that, like you said, money is a renewable resource, you're like, oh, okay. So this money is supposed to go out, which means more money is supposed to come in.
And now that I'm on the other side of it, that's what I'm able to see. If I had held on to that little bit of money, I still feel like I would be going into this weekend worrying about money. And instead, I created it over and over and over again and created what I wanted and needed. And you talk a lot about desire, and that was another thing. I've been for the past few years working more and more to be aware of what I desire. I believe, like you do, the universal law that wherever there's a desire, a way has already been made. Again, you came in and you model for me absolute desire-led life that had me really kick it up some notches, that again and again to a whole new level. And so you talk about that desire-led life and following your desires. So share a little bit about that, because it was a key piece in keeping me trusting, following my desires.
Goodness. So there's a frequency to everything. And when there's a frequency to different thoughts, there's a frequency to different emotions. And when we do things that we should do, kind of lowers the frequency. When we do things that we're supposed to do, you can already feel the restriction of freedom. Like we're doing it because someone else said that this was a good thing to do for someone else's purpose. Boring. But here we do it anyways because we're supposed to be good people or good citizens or whatever the thing is. Desire is fueled with passion. And there's a whole different frequency to passion than have to or should. And we know enough about law of attraction at this point that if you're at a higher vibration, you're going to be a vibrational match to higher end experiences. And when I say higher end, it doesn't necessarily mean a dollar amount is attached to it, though it could. It just means it's going to be a richer experience. Maybe the richer experience is time freedom for you. Maybe it's more time with your kids or your grandkids. Maybe it is like what Michelle's talking about, financial relaxation. And so really getting spiritual law is 180 degrees opposite of the teachings of this world. Teachings of the world, like you have to work hard for money. It takes a long time to get what you want. Not everyone can have what they desire. Like all these other messages that we got. Well, these are really low vibrational thoughts and emotions that lead to low vibrational behaviors. And I find that when I'm in a state of desire, like anyone else, if you're doing what you desire to do, whether it's the type of work or taking a trip or cooking your favorite meal, then you naturally are in a more aligned state and you're going to draw to you opportunities and resources and experiences that are going to have you living out your full purpose and ultimately have a lot more impact.
The desire is so powerful that it was really fun to see. I came to you with things I wanted to change and results, including time freedom and more money, but mostly in my business and in my work and in my service. But what happens is, like you said, you get into that desire led, and we got surprised by all these things I started manifesting that were desires that were out there. And because they were just pure desire and I became a match to it, they all started coming in. Things I've wanted for a long time that I could not have orchestrated. And I wasn't even focusing on them, but my desire was high. And the universe just kept, what I say, surprising and delighting me over and over again. So here I was getting the business and work results, but I kept getting all these other added things. And that's what doing this work does. It touches every area of our lives and it ignites that so that it comes in everywhere for us.
Yes. So the frequency I was talking about, it's an energy. You don't even have to say the words necessarily, but you had a desire to be on a float in Mardi Gras, right? Like that's a very high like your passion for that was so high, it drew that experience to you. And does your community know about all the other things you've manifested in the last 6 months?
Yeah, some people who've been watching this may not. So besides the money in the 6 months, I sold, well, if I start at, I went to an event Gina was doing. So that's the first part, is you get breadcrumbs and guidance. And I got a text message to come to New York City. We were still in the pandemic and I felt like I have to go. I've known who Gina was for years, but I'd never met her or worked with her. And so first thing I did was I went to New York City. I said, I'm going. And she told me on day one to create something to offer my community out of pure desire. So I created a mastermind that started selling that night, was selling by the time I left there. I had created $10,000 in the first month, $42,500, which was my biggest money month, and doubled my average money months. And before 60 days was over, 50,000. Now I've added 26 or more new clients. I think I'm up to 30, almost 100,000 extra dollars in new money. And so all of that was happening, but I wanted to ride on a parade in Mardi Gras. It was my first time to go, but I said, I want to be up on the float, not in the crowd. And 3 weeks before we went, I got that opportunity, which had to be really orchestrated. And I had all these other desires. I got on a TV show with someone that I really love. And I got to get a home that I'm buying in Lilydale. I've been talking about all these things on my podcast. So all of these things coming in, I've had a desire. I felt a calling to go to Lilydale, which is a spiritual community. And they told me it would be a 2-year process to get through to be able to work and live there. And in 6 months, I'm already there. My house is getting ready to close, which, by the way, is my dream home I've always loved in Lilydale. These are all things, amounts of money coming from all different sources started opening up. And the more I was in it, showing up fully and doing my part, the universe started bringing me all of that. It's that you become a vibrational match to that frequency and it comes to you. Mm-hmm. I couldn't have gone out and made these things happen in that same way.
No, you'll start to understand the spiritual scriptures more. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and then all these things will be added unto you. And, Michelle, you've been so committed to your relationship with Source, and so devoted to being in alignment with what's true for you. You have been seeking your truth. You've been seeking God in that sense. So of course, then all these things will be added on to you. So, so beautiful.
And I love you say it that way, because so many people say, when I get all those things, when all the money's there, then I'll be who I am and do what I have to do. But I have found, and you teach me that too, you have to be it and be doing the things, and then they come in. You have to become the match. You do your part, and then the universe rushes in to support you.
1,000%. It's leap and then the net will appear. Just imagine, not following your intuition, jumping into this mentorship and, all of what was opened up. People think about mentoring is expensive, and people might be looking at your spiritual coach school and they're looking at how much does it cost. But, when you're with someone, when you're with a brilliant mentor, Michelle was like, I'm going to shut my business down. You want to tell that story?
The what?
You want to tell that story when you're like, I have to shut my business down for a month?
Yeah. So that was part of the things I believed and was acting on. My business was very much a one-to-one model. And I had worked so much in 2020 that last year I had the opportunity to go to Spain for a month and walk the Camino. And I had committed to it, and I couldn't see any way other than I'm tired. I work one-to-one. I'm going to be gone for a month. So surely I have to just let all my contracts run out and shut my business down. And that's when Spirit had me look at that text and said, get to New York City, because it didn't even make sense. I was getting ready to leave the country, but I went to New York City and it opened up that energy. Part of what you do when you get a mentor and a coach is you're buying access to their energy, and getting in that room transformed me. It literally woke me up. And Gina was saying, what are you talking about? And then I realized nobody shuts down their business because they want to leave for a month. And she said, get a waiting list, create an offer. So after going to New York City, by the time I went onto the Camino, I had 10 new clients. I had a mastermind as part of that. They all paid. And I said, okay, we're starting in October 15th when I get back. And then they were connected to me, and I went off on the trip. And then because I was sharing on my social media my trip, but I actually had an offer that I was selling more people were coming in where I would have just been sharing with no offer, and that doesn't work. So yes, again, now Gina and I, we can look back, because now I see how funny that I was even thinking that. That doesn't even make sense, but I was convinced every day I have a plan. Okay, today's the last day I can take a new client to be finished with them before I close my business. I mean, it was crazy. Instead, I created $50,000 of new money and then took a month off and walked the Camino with my family.
It's so beautiful. And then you do the same thing for your clients. You know, there's probably people saying, well, I'm going to figure out how to be a spiritual coach on my own. And we know it's going to take them so much longer. They're going to be super expensive mistakes. But the people that have stepped into your program, look at the results they're getting like so quickly, and the breakthroughs, the manifestations. It's just, it's not about how much does spiritual coach school cost. It's what's it going to cost you to not get that level of mentorship.
It's a great point. I've learned that because I am always working with coaches and mentors. I choose who's ahead of me, who's done what I've done, been where I've been, and now they're doing what I want to do and being who I want to be. And I was really looking for a quantum leap. And a quantum leap takes new actions, new big stretches, and stepping into that 6 months ago really did it. But I collapsed time and I quantum leaped in with results I'd never gotten before. But it always starts with you having to say yes to things that feel scary, because if you were already a match to them, you'd already have them. But once I stepped in and became that match, they were all coming. Another thing that, along with the desire led, that is an energetic principle that you really helped me with, was affirming what I am no longer available for. And it's so powerful to know, because we say, well, I really need more money, but I need to see what people would pay me. And those people don't have that money. And when I said I'm no longer available to work with anyone who can't figure out how to at least get this amount of money together, I sold that mastermind out, and every single person paid that amount of money, and most of them in full. And then again, I saw how crazy the universe is just doing whatever I say. It is. You really helped me say, and I've been saying that for 6 months, I'm no longer available for that. I am available for this.
It's just so beautiful. You see how quickly actually life comes into alignment and flow and abundance. And you know, I don't want to make it sound like it's a magic wand, but it's just an entirely different way of living. And Michelle, you just modeled it so beautifully. You know, not just knowing spiritual principle, but living it. They're two different things, and you've definitely you have mastered walking your talk. That is for sure, girlfriend.
Thank you. There is a big difference. And I used to do this, which is why I can say it now that I see people that are learning all the things and talking about them and reading about them, but walking that talk and living those principles becomes this huge trust journey, because it is both a magic wand, but you're the one holding it. I had to say yes to New York City to get in the room with you. And then for you to give me that task to implement that created that. And then I hired you as my coach, and I ended up traveling with Gina 4 or 5 more times over the past 6 months, because then Spirit was like, you need to keep getting in the room, because it was Gina, but it was also this room of powerful women. And I kept going. I went to Chicago. I went to Miami a few times. Everywhere that I was being called, and got in the room, and it made a big difference. It makes all the difference.
All the difference, because you just start to see how this way of being can be the new normal. Like, you know, people saying yes to their desires, and people playing a bigger game, and real other people modeling money being a renewable resource, that it comes in and it goes out, or that there's different business models and there's a different way to scale and grow. So yes, you know, I think that we're all angel messengers for each other.
things that you talk to us about in New York City. You know, a lot of us are out there and we're saying similar things and we're teaching, but even when you've heard it over and over, something you talked to us about in New York City that really flipped a switch for me was financial relaxation. It was something new to grab onto. I've said financial freedom, but I was able, as you talked about it, to feel it in my body. And now I've created it to such a degree, it's unbelievable. And 6 months ago, I was like, here's my little nut and I need to be really careful. And so talk about to us the financial relaxation, because the way you talk about it, you can experience it.
It's true. It's real abundance, and it doesn't matter which spiritual text you're reading. Nowhere does it say anything about lack. Nowhere does it say anything about stress. Nowhere, it's not about confinement. It is about expansion, expression, contribution, infinite. And so I think the thought of financial freedom kind of has this connotation of like, save up a bunch of money for your retirement. Like, like it's sort of, and there's nothing free to me in that. Like, and I don't even know that I want to retire, and I don't know how long I'm going to live. So it's like the thought of saving up a bunch of money to have this financial freedom for one day in the future. We all know there's no power in the future. There's power in the present. And so what I crave, and I think most people crave, is to experience financial relaxation. Like, we want to feel relaxed about being able to be in choice so that we can be free in the present moment. And, when we're relaxed, that's where we can hear spirit and our intuition and make our best choices and not make it about the money. But if you're in survive mode and you're stuck in that, you're not going to be relaxed, and you're certainly not going to experience financial relaxation. So, getting yourself to the place that Michelle has gotten herself to actually experience that is quite a gift to give to oneself.
That is so true what you said, because it's in the now, having financial relaxation now. And when people ask me, when are you going to retire? I always say I'm a Louise Hay kind of girl. I'm not going to retire. That holds nothing for me. And so being able to have it now, not someday in the future, and being able to create it when you want and need it, but having that relaxation along the way. Another thing you always talk about, it's in the name of your brand, is Divine Living and your Divine Living podcast. And you show and model a lot of this in the Q Club. You've always stood for it as long as I know. And it's part of the audacity to be queen, is you say not just divine working, but divine living, manifesting beyond our business and actually living the divine life.
Yes. Busy is boring. And I've just, I saw it when me and my friends were like trying to get to 6 figures, and then it was 7 figures, and it was multiple 7 figures. And it was like, how much is enough? Where's like, and I have no problem with like wealth accumulation by any stretch. But for me personally, I have such a high value on enjoying life. I love my work, but I don't want to work all the time. My work is very meaningful. And I remember it stopped. I had lunch with a girlfriend one time, and it was such a foreign experience because I had just gotten so used to working in launches and all that. I was like, this is not living. This is not why I started my own company. So it really put a priority on that.
Yes, I love that. And one other energetic principle, and I would ask you to tell me over and over so I could really get it because it resonated, was you set your goals and your desires, and then you do your inspired action. And you really taught me a lot about watching and listening for divine guidance and then acting on it. But you really talked about holding the energy no matter what until it shows up. And things that are a must are the things that you bring forth.
Yes. Wanting and wishing doesn't work. If that worked, we'd all be skinny billionaires by now. So it's really finding that place of what is your non-negotiable. It's got to come from a place of must, or you are not going to be in that energetic vibration that is a match for the actual desire. So, I remember when I was calling in my soulmate, I like really, 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 really wanted to meet him and get married. And it wasn't until I became unavailable to date anymore that I actually met my soulmate.
I love that. All of these are so key and so important. And then you can see we need strategies. Strategies are great. You're actually a really great business strategist. And at the same time, you need someone that can help you with these other pieces to become that vibrational match to create the life and the business that you want. With all this conversation we've had today, what is one thing you would leave everybody with wherever they are? If they're me 6 months ago and wherever they are and the people you work with, what would you say right now?
I feel from the essence of this conversation, Michelle, that, and I know it's like set out there, but I really want people to like feel into this. Give yourself the gift of a mentor. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what else is possible. We've been so conditioned, especially women, figure it out, do it by yourself. Don't bother anyone. Don't spend money on yourself. And, we're all meant to be supported. We're all meant to be seen. We're all meant to be like surrounded with an energetic frequency that's bigger than our own that we can expand into. And so I would say, don't be cheap with yourself, and really step into a level of mentorship that's going to ensure your success, that your dreams are manifested.
Thank you so much. And I know that we're going to put the links for everyone for your book and Q Club and your website. And also you have a free course that goes along with your book. And so you all watch for that so that you can read the book and go through the course as well. And that's a gift for you all. Thank you so much for that. And just let everybody know where they can find you.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, Michelle. It's always so fun to be in your presence. Yes, if anyone wants to get the book, you can go to divineliving.com/book. It's The Audacity to Be Queen, the unapologetic art of dreaming big and manifesting your most fabulous life. And it has all kinds of real life stories behind the scenes, practical exercises, so you can get your hands on that. And go follow me on Instagram at Gina DeVee, or listen to my podcast, Divine Living.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us today and helping me share what you shared with me with my community.
Oh, my pleasure. Oh, you should come check out the interview I did with Michelle on the Divine Living podcast. You'll get more of her story there as well.
Yes, you'll hear more about the 6-month manifesting story by listening to Divine Living podcast and my episode. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michelle. Bye.